Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
We now wander off the beaten path with an update from the Reefer Reporter.
Hello and welcome to the Reefer Reporters with news hosts Glenn Prentice and myself, Elves Graham. It's July the 21st, 2022, and we are live here from the Legacy420.com news desk on the Pace Network. Good morning, Glenn. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's sunny out and nice and warm, so I'm looking forward to the day.
Good. So are you roasting like we were here in Ontario?
It's been really hot here. It's hot for the next week still. Not one day. I think the coldest day is like 27. Feels like 32 or 30. So wow, I can deal with it. I'd rather sweat than freeze.
Well, yes, exactly. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. How's the renovations?
Very slow, very heavy, but they are coming along.
Okay, now last
almost all done except for some trim on windows.
I saw a post recently of Patrick motorcycle license. The two of you going out riding now, or what?
Yes, actually, yes. I dropped him off. Well, I did drop him off. I drove up with him to his friend's place, and he stayed overnight, and he's driving home. He's about 45 minutes. So I'm hoping everything's okay. He seems to be a pretty good rider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just so you know, you are having some mic issues there. You are breaking in and out. And we are, just for those who are watching or listening, we are trying to figure out what the issue is. But to date, no success, but we're trying. All right. Other than that, what do you say? Get on to the news?
Sounds good.
All righty. First up, story. Vancouver to lower cannabis store fees to $5,000 in 2023, according to StratCan.
The annual cost to run a cannabis store in Vancouver will be lowered from $13,500 to $5,000 in January 2023. The move comes following a motion before Vancouver City Council on July 19th.
The change followed a previous move by Council in October 2021 to lower it from $33,958.
Wow.
Holy smokes.
Wow.
The most reduction was part of the host of changes in the fees the city collects under the license bylaw, vehicles for hire bylaw, and the animal control bylaw. The vote in support of the motion was unanimous. Holy God, $33,000 for
it should be
34.
Yeah, it went from 34 down to 5.
Yeah.
Wow. Despite the most recent reduction, city staff's report notes that cannabis retailers in Vancouver will still pay significantly higher fees when compared to other cities in BC and other licensed in the city.
Yeah.
In comparison, the liquor retail store fee in Vancouver is only $429, and the maximum fee for standard hours liquor establishment is $3,219. The highest retail dealer fee is $4,595 for a 50-foot premises. The Class 2 casino license fee and the license fee for the horse racing exhibition are both $13,464. The Pacific National Exhibition annual license fee is $18,800, and the maximum fee for extended hours liquor establishment is $23,525.
Boy, you know, some people might not even realize this. Those are huge fees for some of those places, but maybe they're big places.
Huge fees. Yeah.
Although the city will lose revenue from these reduced fees from cannabis stores, a projected shortfall of about $625,000, the expectation from city staff is that this will be recovered by increases in other fees, such as dog licensing and IMBL ride-hailing licenses. Ethran Richardson, the director of Sunrise Cannabis located in Vancouver, shared with council that such changes are needed to help the many struggling cannabis retailers in the city's service, especially independent stores such as Sunrise.
Lowering this business license fee will likely save some mom and pop shops from going bankrupt, and we need them to survive so that we can make a case for change in provincial cannabis policy, said Richardson. Jocelyn Pahorta of the Retail Cannabis Association of British Columbia also spoke, representing 14 different retail bans in the city. She said the change would represent a significant relief for our sector, which is continuing to struggle with a number of different challenges.
Yeah, Oona of Eggs Canada, with 2 locations in Vancouver, also spoke council in support, saying it was much needed lifeline. So there you go. Some people were having some businesses having some problems, and I know, just so you know, locally over in Campbellford, where they have 3 stores, and the people were complaining about having 3 stores. One of them has closed.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. The one on the main
Complaints
street.
because there were 3 stores. What were the complaints about? Just because there were 3
Oh,
stores?
yeah, they would thought that people thought that there was too many stores. The town and the municipality didn't need 3 stores. So I reminded everybody, but there's over a dozen alcohol places within walking distance of the bridge. Counting fast food locations and restaurants, there were over 20 places where you could go in and buy a meal.
Wow.
But apparently
Oh,
3
okay.
cannabis stores is too many. Are they complaining
Wow.
about the number of places where you can buy cigarettes or junk food? No. But
No,
they're worried about the
no,
cannabis
nothing
stores.
at all.
So I posted a comment on the local group about that, basically what I had just said, about the fact that, the market will dictate who survives and who doesn't survive. Last I looked, there was over 100 comments on there, and somebody was asking people to settle down and be more courteous in their comments. So I haven't gone back to read it all, but I could just imagine, after reading that comment,
Yeah.
what some of the comments are. So
Yeah. I try to be courteous when I comment on things. Sometimes I get a little riled, and
yeah.
it
Oh
happens.
yeah, yeah, you see it all the time. Guilty myself. All right, on to the next story. This one also from Stratcan. Headline says, "Why is it so hard to scale cannabis production?"
And what happens when the elephant in the room is the room itself? The question for investors in Aurora Cannabis is finally answered with news the last quarter that its massive state-of-the-art Sky greenhouse outside of Edmonton would be shuttered in the fall. Announced with great fanfare in 2018, the 800,000 square foot Sky facility was designed to be as close to automated as you can get. Estimated to be capable of producing as much as 8,000 kilograms of cannabis per month with 17 production rooms. Wow.
But by the time production started in 2019, with a price tag of well over $100 million, the Canadian cannabis production market was already over capacity, with consumers' tastes moving rapidly towards the hard produced craft segment that is everything the Sky facility is not. While they didn't talk about it on investor conference calls, it was long rumored Aurora found out the hard way what legacy owners have known for decades. Scaling it up always comes with problems, and the more you scale it up, the bigger the problems.
Yeah. By the time its closure was announced last month, Sky was operating at 25% capacity and a victim of its own size. The behemoth unable to respond to constantly shifting consumer demands at a competitive price. Sky was originally created to be one of the largest global, almost completely automated facilities to grow what I would call mid-tier flower. Aurora CEO Miguel Martin told investors during the last Q3 call, as the consumer evolved very quickly, bud quality, density, moisture, all of those things, and then potency and terps and all of the other sort of core character attributes did not lend itself to automation. No.
You got to love your plants, and an automated
Yep.
system doesn't love them. Success, as some say, has a thousand fathers, fathers, while failure is an orphan. Aurora did not respond to interview requests, they say. Neither did Canopy when asked similar questions about the demise of its equally ambitious Tweed Farms greenhouse facility in southern Ontario and in BC. Oh, I see. I have lost Glenn. If cannabis, this is not a pick on either company in particular. It's just the way just that they are some of the most recent examples of big cannabis plays from the early days of legalization failing to come in to fruition. If Canada's big players don't have the answer, who knows what it takes to pull off a high quality cannabis crop at a competitive price at volumes that would allow national sales. The article goes on to say that while technology. Oh, I see. Glenn's power went out. That is what's happened to Glenn. Has sent me a message through his phone to let me know his power has failed him, but he will be back, I'm sure. All right, let's just get this back in line here. And I will just continue. He will be along. Or hopefully he'll be along shortly. It's hard to qualify success in the recreational cannabis market fully, but Pure Farms of Delta, BC surely comes close. They say at Pure Sun Farm, success doesn't have 1,000 fathers, but rather about 800 employees operating primarily one of two 1.1 million square foot greenhouses located across the street from each other. Now, according to the CEO, yeah, he's waiting for the power coming back on, he tells me. The CEO says the facility is currently operating at 3/4 capacity, growing into the facility as part of its carefully planned operation. We've never laid off an employee, they say, and pointing to 14 straight quarters of profitability for the publicly listed company is another sign that it's doing great. They say, they know that full well that the company's success lies in the hybrid cannabis or hybrid greenhouse model. Well, if done right, the higher cost and quality of indoor meets the lower cost and output of the outdoor grown cannabis. But they say that a greenhouse is not the only factor, giving credit to the years of produce growing experience, according to Village Farms. Now, just so you know, Glenn has returned, and there he is. Hi, Glenn. You see you're back, buddy.
Hello. Sorry, the power went out here.
Just quickly, and then back on again.
Yeah, it's back on. It just took me a minute to boot everything back up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I will continue, and you will find me partway down the article.
Okay.
All right. And below the ad, they say that we have hundreds of years of experience. First with fresh cut flowers in the early days. Then we pivoted to produce. We put together an incredible team. We knew high-tech greenhouses, but we were smart enough to bring in the legacy folks.
And Dennis doesn't gloat over Aurora's difficulty, but lays what he thinks the problems are, and other big Canada players. The growth story in order to get to more capital markets and raise share prices, he said. People thought they could bring this defensive moat with these massive facilities. I know they ran into significant yield and quality issues where the products they were growing. But rather than admit that they can't scale up, Dosanjh says the bigger companies claim inventory issues. That's why you see a lot of talk of inventory buildup with these organizations, he adds.
Jamie Del Monte, CEO of Greenway Greenhouse Cannabis, says he has no problem dissecting the demise of Aurora Sky. I wouldn't have started it with 20 acres. And why did they plant it all so fast? The funds were raised. Why spend it right away? I don't fault the early movers for doing what they did, but they didn't consult with the right people, the proper large-scale growers. Cannabis is an expensive crop to grow. Lots of labor and regulations. Had they started slowly, maybe Sky could have succeeded.
And he might have just been being polite. His recent success and that of his partner and uncle, Carl Mastronardi, is also born of long experience growing hydroponic produce in a company first established by Del Monte's immigrant grandparents. Greenway employs a staff of 18 at two separate facilities in Essex County, Ontario. One facility is dedicated to propagation and the other to flower production and packaging. That makes sense to me to separate them.
The two facilities operate under different licenses and help with plant quarantine. Plants are put through the vegetative cycle at the nursery before transfer to the flower facility in one of its 8 smaller growing rooms. The plants arrive roaring to go, they say.
Growing cannabis only for just over a year, Greenway already routinely pulls 200 to 300 kilograms of cannabis per room. D'Alemont says their success within that facility lies in adopting tactics from the legacy growers who have long found better yields by stringing together a bunch of smaller rooms rather than running one big one. We've chosen to do that to mimic the small scale approach, he adds, and you can only take away so much of the human touch.
There you go. The human touch. Cannabis plants can't be moved around, and there's only so much that can be automated. The only automation we see is in the back end in packaging, he says. The facility also includes independently controlled rooms and backup systems for just about everything. Now, according to Demonte, he says that when growing crops, you have to make sure your systems are all in place and are reliable. Your location, your staff all have to be top notch. Plants have needs that cannot be denied.
Right. Sustainable growth has been one of the hallmarks of the parent company's decades-long success, he adds, but demand for their product has them already planning to scale up to 2 more 50,000 square foot facilities. As a fun lesson, Pure Sun Farms, Dosanjh says, to understand your market is not as you want it to be. The consumer is the heart of the market. We want to be the heart of the market under the cannabis consumer as they are today, he explains.
In that context, we didn't build a business upon the future. We built it on the regs currently in play, unlike a lot of companies who are asking government to change the rules to save their business. Yeah, small rooms.
What he says makes a lot of sense. Human touch, you know, like you said, love.
Yeah, exactly. All right, on to our next story. I'll just say we got a comment from Maxine. She says, "Hi, Irene. I will pass the message on to Irene." All righty. Okay, next story. This one comes to us from Political, and we're heading over the border as we see that Schumer's legal weed bill is finally here. Boy, we've been talking about the U.S. just like Mexico.
Yeah. Well, they're kind of like that in this, in this context.
Yeah.
Senate leaders are introducing sweeping legislation Thursday, meant to lift federal prohibitions on cannabis more than 50 years after Congress made the plant illegal. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer's Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act would decriminalize cannabis on federal level and allow states to set their own cannabis laws without fear of punishment from Washington.
The bill has been a long time coming. I guess it has been. Schumer, along with Senator Ron Wyden and Cory Booker, proposed the discussion draft more than a year ago, and its odds of passing in the Senate are slim. But the legislation will shape the conversation around cannabis legalization going forward, and portions of it are likely to find their way into other bills that could pass before the end of the year.
The legislation both Democratic and Republican priorities. It expunges federal cannabis-related records and creates funding for law enforcement departments to fight illegal cannabis. It also establishes grant programs for small business owners entering the industry who are disproportionately hurt by the past drug laws. Requires the Department of Transportation to research and develop a nationwide standard for cannabis-impaired driving, and restricts the marketing of cannabis to minors.
Two things in there. It's going to be interesting to see what they come up with this impaired driving. Research and develop a nationwide development impaired. It'd be interesting to see if they stick to like what Canada and Colorado, and there's that 5 nanogram limit.
I think that's what they're going to wind up doing because they don't have anything else right now.
Yeah. And the other thing is expunges federal cannabis related records. If you got charges statewide charges, then those charges or convictions would still be there because it's separate, right? It's not federal.
I find it really funny how they say they're going to expunge the records, but then they're going to give more money to police to stop people from growing cannabis.
Well, that's what they did here, where they give them more money, because here they did in Canada too, was to give them more money to go after the larger organizations, the big growers, not the
Yep.
little guy.
Aren't they already saving the money? They're not arresting people every day for just minor drug offenses.
Just take that same money and divert it over somewhere else.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's still, in the end, still the same amount of money. So.
Yeah.
All right, continue.
Schumer has been the highest-ranking champion of cannabis legalization in Washington, billing it a top priority over the past 2 years. It was one of the issues he and Democrats would tackle if they took back the Senate in 2020. When a state like South Dakota votes for a referendum to legalize, you know something is out there, Schumer told Politico last year. The American people started speaking sort of with a clear message, more than 2-1, that they want the law changed. For years, they've said this.
I'd say, oh, yeah, for sure. Exactly. And look at 38 states that got medical. So, while cannabis legalization has spread rapidly across the U.S. over the past decade, Capitol Hill has not transitioned as quickly. 19 states now allow anyone at least 21 years old to possess and use cannabis, and 37 states have established medical cannabis programs. National polls have consistently shown that roughly 2/3 of Americans back cannabis legalization, and support is even higher among younger voters.
Yeah, and the votes aren't yet there to pass Schumer's bill on Capitol Hill. That's in part because many lawmakers from the states with legal markets don't yet support substantial changes to federal law, and I wonder why. Democratic Senator John Tester, for example, represents a state where cannabis is legal, Montana, and says he does not support federal decriminalization. A handful of other Democrats told Politico that they are against legalization or are undecided, including Senators Joanne Shaheen, Joe Manchin, and Bob Casey. Schumer would need all Democrats plus 10 Republicans to get the bill over the finish line, which is not going to happen. No, never going to happen.
I see the Joe no there. So they're toast. Cannabis legalization advocates have had success in the past framing it with Republicans as a states' rights issue, but some pro-decriminalization Republicans will likely be unhappy with the bill's expungement of cannabis-related criminal convictions and its equity grant provisions. Slap, slap, slap. Further complications matters is that the House has twice passed its own sweeping cannabis legalization package known as the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment Expungement Act. That legislation does not include much of the regulatory structure that part of the Senate bill, and also has a different tax ratio.
And even if the bill were somehow to pass, it's unclear if President Joe Biden would sign it. He has repeatedly says he does not support federal cannabis legalization. Instead, some Democrats and Republicans are considering a smaller cannabis bill later this year that could see one or more provisions from the CAOA added to the Safe Banking Act. More widely supported bill that would make it easier for banks to offer financial services to cannabis companies. That plan is still in the discussion stage and nothing formal has been decided. And I have a huge problem with that too, because you know that these banks are not going, no matter what they do with this act, they're not going to allow them to bank there as long as it's federally illegal.
Exactly. It's got to be changed federally. Now, if the federal government changes the laws to allow the banking, but I think they should be able to do that without without touching the cannabis end, maybe. But even to decriminalize it, they could do that. It's just crazy. It's just See, Congress has a lot to tackle still in this year, but Democrats are facing the possibility that they will lose the House in this year's midterm election. That has lit a fire under some lawmakers and cannabis advocates to find a weed bill that can pass this year, and it's expected that after this bill receives its fanfare, the cannabis discussion will shift to what is possible to get done in Congress versus what Democrats dream they could accomplish. McConnell would
McConnell
never
would
bring
bring these. Yeah, sorry.
these things to the floor, Schumer said last year. We'll move forward and try to get this done as quickly and as soon as possible. It's, I watch the stuff that goes on down there in the Mexico year after year. It just seemed like, they're going to legalize and then something happens and it's put off and it's put off in the courts. And, there's just so much legalization out there in the U.S. that the federal government has to catch up. Like, it doesn't
I don't think the federal
sense.
government can get anything done right now. Nothing done
No,
there
oh no,
because of the political situation.
It's not about the person or the people. It's about the party
The party.
and nothing more.
Mm-hmm.
Who gives a shit about anything else? It's about
Very unfortunate.
Yeah, exactly. All right, on to our next story from MJ Biz Daily. 7 U.S. cannabis CEOs saw compensations top $4 million in 2021.
Yeah. More than a dozen top executives from the largest publicly held cannabis multi-state operators exceeded the $1 million mark for total compensation in 2021. And here are the details of the top 5. We got a whole big graph here and pictures of all the CEOs. Do you want their names?
No, we just start down at the bottom. Top executives.
Sure. Top executives at the largest publicly traded U.S. cannabis companies each received up to $2.6 million in salary and bonuses in fiscal 2021, with stock and option awards boosting total individual compensation to as much as $16 million, according to regulatory filings. 7 CEOs at these multi-state cannabis operators topped the $4 million mark in total compensation in 2021, compared to just 1 during the previous fiscal year. And they say there's no money in it. There's money for the top execs.
Yeah, it sure is. As in 2020, TrueLeaf CEO Kim Rivers was the only woman leading one of the top 15 cannabis MSOs. White men led the rest. Several cannabis MSO executives below the rank of CEO also drew multi-million-dollar compensation packages, including one at $14 million.
Wow. In 2021, the 2 highest compensated cannabis MSO executives were CEOs awarded for taking their companies public: Illinois-based Verano Holdings and New York-based Ascend Wellness Holdings. There continued to be a high rate of executive turnover and M&A transactions in the industry, noted Fred Wittersley, a cannabis compensation expert and founder of the Compensation Venture Group near Seattle. He's a cannabis compensation expert. That's interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah,
true. Now, he wrote in an email to MJ Biz Daily that every time there is a hiring, firing, or merger, numbers get distorted as executives receive severances, hiring bonuses, and new hire stock grants. Or in the case of mergers, the buyer often buys a premium over current market price. Columbia Care co-founder and longtime CEO Nicholas Vita had a total compensation package worth $4.1 million. Slowly but surely, those names on that list up above are coming out in the article.
yeah. But he could emerge as with more than $100 million in cash and stock following Cresco Labs' pending acquisition of the New York-based multi-state cannabis operator, a 16% premium at the time of the announcement. The package includes a potential $12.2 million change in control benefit. It's important to know that the story behind the numbers, as the industry continues to go through tumultuous times, Wittersley wrote.
Yeah. Executive compensation packages generally vary year to year because some companies provide stock or option awards to the top executive once every 2 years rather than annually. For example, Cresco CEO Charlie Blanford led the list of best paid U.S. cannabis CEOs in 2020 with total compensation of nearly $4.5 million, largely because of an option award valued at $3.9 million.
Wow.
But Blatchtel didn't receive equity awards in 2021 when he was one of the lowest total compensation packages award among his peers. At only $1.2 million.
Poor guy, only made 1.2 million that year.
Yeah.
Well, Advantage Holdings CEO Peter Caldini also had one of the lowest compensation packages for cannabis CEOs in 2021, totaling just 900 grand. But his numbers will be much higher in 2022.
Now, why is that?
Caldini will receive 3 bonuses of $833,000 each, for a total of $2.5 million in reward for his continued service and to provide retention incentives, according to the regulatory filings.
So he's getting a bonus for service,
for his service, and so that he stays there. What about the people who actually do the work? What's the bonuses they're getting? I would love to know.
For the employee that's still there after, different than this guy.
Yeah.
Like, what? And we wonder why cannabis is so expensive. We're going to get into an article on that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the problem with most things that we have these days. All the money's at the top. There's money at the bottom, no money in the middle. It's at the top.
Yeah. Look, there's a list. There's a list there. George Akos, $16 million in total compensation. Wow. Holy smokes.
That's crazy.
Wow.
This is 1 year.
Yeah. Now, down below that, they say that the crash in cannabis stock prices shows that the actual pay may be a fraction of the required disclosed figures required last year. They say in an email. For example, the Joshi Holdings CEO James Capuchino received a grant of 2.9 million options in 2021, according to the company proxy statement.
Unlike other cannabis companies, Florida-based Jushi didn't report a value for the option award in the executive compensation summary table, as is customary. Usually calculated the value of a Casiopo's options at $7.26 million at the time of the award in October 27, 2021, using a moderate range of assumptions and stock price volatility. Yoshi calculated a value of $7.15 million for the option grant after being contacted by MJ Biz Daily. But today, the value of those options isn't much lower because Jushi's stock price has declined more than 50% from $3.81 in October 2021 to roughly $1.75 per share now.
No, let's finish up that story. I'm just going to end that now. Those compensation price rates. Wow.
The guy got 7.15 million, and the stock fell almost half, or less than half.
Yeah.
What it was.
People getting awarded for losing money.
Yeah. Only the CEO.
Like I've seen people get awarded for years of service and stuff like that, but let's share it. Why is it all going to the guy at the top?
It's going to the top until the top is over, and then they have to do something.
Yeah. Well, there we go. We gone from big money executives to this next story in the Growth Op that tells us Oregon is home to the most affordable cannabis in the U.S. Wait till we get naming prices, Glenn.
Yeah. Okay. Relying on data from price of weed, which does itself a global price index for cannabis, the report highlights that an ounce from Oregon is about 10% cheaper than the second lowest price, which is $234 under in the neighboring state of Washington. $234 an ounce?
Yeah.
This is an ounce? Holy smokes, man. That's expensive.
Yeah, I know, eh? In Oregon, It's actually at 210. I think there's an article. There's a line that you went over at the very beginning below the picture. It says an ounce of high quality cannabis in Oregon will cost consumers about $210, and the average price is $234. Wow!
I thought we were reading a story about cheap cannabis, and it's not.
Well, hey, someone's got to pay that $7.1 million bonus for the guy that showed up.
Perhaps, unsurprisingly, other mature cannabis markets round at the top of the list, including Colorado, where the high quality ounce will run about $242. And California, which trails a few dollars behind at $249 an ounce. Montana, a relative newcomer to the cannabis industry, the state legalized recreational cannabis last year, comes in fifth cheapest at $266 an ounce. That's a lot.
Oh, Jesus Christ. The
Yeah.
Business Journal's report examined cannabis data for 37 states which permit either medical or recreational. It found the median price of the 37 states was $332.
Wow.
Holy fuck. Now let's compare that
Well,
to
here we go.
Canada.
Good Canadian. So Canadian cannabis is significantly cheaper according to the price of weed data, which reports an ounce of high quality cannabis has an average price of $207.04. A medium quality ounce is priced at $196 on average. And I can say that these prices are out of line with what I pay right here in New Brunswick.
Yeah.
I can get a high quality ounce for between 80 and 120. And that's where
Now,
the price
is that on the reserve?
that's
Or
on
from a store.
You can't get the same price from Cannabis New Brunswick, but on the reserve you can.
Out of curiosity, do you know what the price at Cannabis NB for now? Like, I realize each company is going to have a different price, but
I haven't been to Cannabis NB in over. Every time I went in there, I was disappointed, and I just stopped going in there.
Yeah, and I haven't inquired about buying cannabis at any of our stores, so I don't know either. Those numbers they say are in line.
I was there like 3 days ago. I was there, and I bought a really good high quality ounce for $80.
There you go, $80.
Yeah.
These numbers, they say, are in line with previous report from Forbes, which, using data from cannabis resource WikiLeaf, found that cannabis in Canada is about 30% cheaper than in the U.S. on average. In December of last year, an Ontario Cannabis Store report highlighted that legal cannabis sales had surpassed the illicit market for the first time, and they say that took 3 years to happen. Now, according to the 2021 Canadian Cannabis Survey, the average price per unit for a dried gram of cannabis flower was $9.78 or $8.37 per serving for edibles, both unchanged from 2020.
And the report from the Ontario Cannabis Store, serving Canada's largest market, found that cannabis that ranged from $3 to $6.50 gram accounted for 45% of the flower sales at retail stores and 61% of online sales. Cannabis that ranged from $17 to $20.50 a gram made up just 1% of both online and brick and mortar flower sales. No wonder. Who can afford that?
You can afford it. Yeah, that's right. They say that last year report on the cannabis pricing across North America found that pricing is consistently indicated as a primary factor in purchasing decisions. We just discuss about the $80 ounce that you say was really good? Yeah. Conducted by the cannabis market research firm BDSA, Doylet Canada, and Hi-Fi Inc., the technology subsidiary of Fire and Flower Holdings Corp. The report predicted that the cannabis pricing is expected to remain extremely volatile as existing markets mature and new markets come online.
And pricing in the cannabis market is complex and dynamic and is expected to remain so, said Sid Hathriyami, a partner of Deloitte Canada. Business leaders must be careful when making assumptions based on other consumer industries and instead analyze the data closely, stay informed on market and competitive activities, and contain costs in order to achieve target profits.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's freaking $300 and some odd as an average for an ounce out in the U.S.
The story started, and I thought we were reading a story about cheap cannabis, and then those numbers hit me. I was astounded.
Yeah. Well, hey, I can remember a friend of mine that lived in Camelford, and he was living down in Minnesota. He was paying over $400 for an ounce of cannabis that he said was wet.
Wow.
So even get left. Yeah.
And that was through the legal market?
No, that was through the illegal market. Yeah. Nasty stuff. Well, Glenn, it's dab time.
Okay.
Glenn and I'll be right back after our dab session. You are watching the Reefer Report as we are live here on the Pace Facebook and YouTube pages, or maybe just catching the podcast afterwards at paceradio.net. We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Who has huge buds? You do. If you shop at BMA Hydroponics, attend one of BMA's educational seminars and learn the secrets of growing, harvesting, processing, and consuming quality cannabis and cannabis products. Learn how to make better extracts, edibles, and medicinal creams at prices you can afford. Visit BMA Hydroponics at 404 Maitland Drive, Belleville, or call 613-967-9888.
The only way to go.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Pace Radio is the people advocating cannabis education radio network.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
CP operates a medicinal cannabis signing clinic. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada, then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call. They can be reached at 1-613-967-9888. That's 1-613-967-9888, and grow on with CP.
Catch the Reefer Reporters Mondays and Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, live here on the Pace Radio Network.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net. And Glenn and I are back from our dab session and ready to bring you 5 more stories. First up comes to us from Mugglehead Magazine. Headline says California farmers begin paving Emerald Road.
In California, a group of local cultivators led by an experienced entrepreneur plan to forever change the way that cannabis community functions online. On Friday, the crypto-exclusive digital cannabis platform Emerald Road announced its formation. Founded by Justin Calvino in Los Angeles, the new trailblazing e-commerce hub aims to become the cannabis community equivalent to what Uber is to transportation or what Facebook is to social media.
Emerald has a goal to become the favorite online platform for consumers, retailers, and those involved with the cannabis industry, utilizing an assortment of purchasing and marketing tools, community building infrastructure, education, and other content provided through a festive-like online platform. Emerald aims to not only become a leader in cannabis, but social media as well.
And the users will be able to browse cannabis merchandise with informative video content from an assortment of retailers in the farmers market, listen to music, or learn about yoga at the Wellness Village, or access academic content related to cannabis at Emerald University.
I see that you got a picture here of the app. Emerald University experiences the Emerald Stage. Like, I know the Emerald Cup, but I don't think there's any connection whatsoever to this.
Okay.
The application will require an in-house crypto token only utilized for purchases on Emerald that will become available in October. Mugglehead reached out to Justin Cavallino via phone call, and he stated that although cryptocurrency may come across as confusing to new users, buying coins to use on the platform will be as simple as purchasing shoes on Amazon, they say.
And users will simply create an account, register a credit card for billing, and purchase tokens for buying and selling goods and services on the app. I don't understand why they're using these tokens. Why don't they just use your credit card? You're already
Because they're
using
using cryptocurrency.
Yeah. Crypto and cannabis are a match made in heaven, said Justin Calvino. People with zero crypto experience will feel comfortable as long as they have experience setting up other types of accounts online. It will not be augmented, and you won't have to learn anything crazy specific for it, he added.
Yeah, Cavallino has not decided what type of blockchain Emerald Road will be using. He says that I would like to see Emerald Road associated with global cannabis marketplace and an industry leader in social media and education, along with having multiple small batch craft communities and micro brands using it survive.
And Emerald Road claims that it will be a superior platform compared to others currently available due to a more interactive experience than anything in existence today. Virtual cannabis farm tours and members-only experiences yet to be revealed are examples of why the application will allegedly be superior. Legacy platforms are not embracing emerging technologies, and currently there is no central hub for Canada culture and Canada-curious consumers to connect, socialize, learn, transact, and be entertained, not to mention the restrictions on cannabis advertising, Calvino said lastly. And local cannabis brands involved with forming the Emerald Road include Andy Box, Native Humboldt Farms, and several others.
There you go. So another way to buy cannabis. Crypto.
The crypto part of it is not really my kind of thing, and I don't understand because you're already putting your credit card in there, so they could just go directly to the credit card.
Yeah. Why don't they have a crypto card? Or
Crypto makes one
set it up to a crypto account. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, on to the next story. Also from Mugglehead Magazine, it says the extract market projected to have exponential growth, according to Coherent Market Insights.
A market intelligence and consulting organization headquartered in India has released data indicating that the global cannabis extract market will become much larger by the end of the decade. On Wednesday, Coherent Market Insights revealed that its industry analysts estimated that the international concentrate sector will be valued at approximately US $32.6 billion by 2030. That number is quite astounding considering that CMI estimated that same market would be worth a mere $9.1 billion this year in comparison. A compound annual growth rate of 17.3% is anticipated to be observed during the 2022 to 2030 forecast period.
Wow. CMI has clients from over 57 countries, globe, and takes pride in assisting critical business decisions. They say the key trends propelling the cannabis extract market forward include the prevalence of cancer and inherent use of concentrates for therapeutic purposes, consistent new product approvals and development of novel extract merchandise, and various partnerships and collaborations among key figures operating within the sector. The pain management segment accounted for the largest share this year, largely attributed to high cancer rates.
Full spectrum, broad spectrum, and isolates are the three main types of extracts. An example of popular products within the market include oil, hash, shatter, and wax. Hospital pharmacies, online pharmacies, and retail pharmacies are the three primary distribution channels for the market. Key market players. Pardon?
Hospital pharmacies? Wow.
Yeah.
I just well, I selling cannabis in a hospital pharmacy. I didn't know.
I think it's a great thing. I'm glad that it's new to me too.
Yeah, yeah.
And the key market players they focused on the production of extract products include Organigram Holdings, Canopy Growth Corporation, Medical Marijuana Inc. It seems to be the same companies we were talking about doing a lot of the same things.
Yeah, the names come up often. There's no doubt about that. When it comes to the medical end, I like to see companies doing it. So it's because that's what the government says. If you want to do your research, then the businesses are going to have to fund it, right? Because they're not funding it, or the amount of funding they do provide isn't enough. So,
well, they can't because it's totally illegal there.
Down in the U.S., oh yeah, it's just crazy down there. All right, on to the next story. This comes to us from Fresh Toast. It says, do you know how much THC is in a joint? Here's how you can figure it out.
If you don't mind a little arithmetic, calculating an accurate measure of THC in your joint can be easy to determine, and here's how. One of the common questions novice and regular tokers have about a joint is, what's the estimated milligrams of THC in a joint? The answer to this isn't as straightforward as you like, and that's one question I don't know if I've ever asked myself.
Well, before legalization, I know myself, milligrammage wasn't. I don't ever recall anybody ever bringing it up.
No, was it good cannabis or not? That was it.
And what was the THC level of the cannabis?
Yeah,
that was used in making the product, but nobody, nobody ever talked about how much milligrams were in it. So, not the people I was with, anyways.
No, and we didn't even have milligrams back then.
No, exactly. In 2016, a drug and alcohol dependence study suggested that a 0.3 gram cannabis blunt contains approximately 20 milligrams of THC. They also pointed out that this amount isn't definite as there are different strains of cannabis. And in addition, the study noted that the total milligrams of THC in a joint could be determined by the part of the plant being smoked and the strain's potency.
That's what you just said.
Exactly. Yeah.
The amount of THC in a regular joint depends on so many variables. However, if you don't mind a little arithmetic, calculating the accurate measure of THC in your joint will be a walk in the park. Once you've done with this piece, you'll also get to understand the various factors that determine how much THC is in your joint, as well as their impact on your health.
A standard analytical testing lab measures the theoretical maximum amount of THC that could be in a joint using the mathematical expression THC max equals THC plus THCA.
Whoa.
Yeah. Because that is the two different if delta 9, but this expression gives the lab an estimated amount of THC in a blunt. If you often purchase blunts from legal dispensaries, you may notice this estimate written on the product's package. This mathematical formula can estimate the strength of various cannabis strains.
It all gets a bit complicated here. There could be a notable difference in how much THC you have in your joint and how much THC you can consume in one session. The fact that a joint contains up to 20 milligrams of THC does not mean you would ingest the entire amount. The situation can be traced to the availability of THCA. It's the non-psychoactive form in an unignited joint. THCA in a joint is converted to THC when ignited. The process is chemically known as decarboxylation. It describes the removal of carboxyl from THC acid. The temperature, as well as the amount of time it takes for decarboxylation to occur in the joint, determines the total milligrams of THC you would consume in one joint. It's reported that at least 40% of THC is lost when smoking a joint.
Wow, 40%.
I can confirm that. I switched to a bong from a joint, and I know that my consumption dropped by about half.
Really, eh?
Yeah.
I always looked at it as you're wasting. The THC was lost in the joint because you're standing there.
Yeah, you're standing there and you don't get all the smoke. Yeah.
It's burning away. You're not consuming it, right? Whereas at the bong, you're burning everything that's in that bowl, and then you pull it through.
That could be it. Yeah.
Yeah, and a friend of mine who agrees with you says it also hits quicker too, more effective quicker.
It does. Most definitely does.
Yeah. Potency. The amount of smoke you inhale from a joint determines how much THC will be delivered. The more you inhale, the higher the strength of the cannabis, the more THC would be ingested. It's important to stress that it is impossible to ingest all of the THC present in the joint due to the loss from combustion, inhalation, and uneven decarboxylation. And they didn't even mention the fact that people hold it.
Yeah. Yeah, you always wind up holding it because you can't constantly be pulling on it, right? So
that's right. Yeah, you got to exhale, right?
Yeah. Joint sizes vary. Some weigh 0.3 grams, while some weigh 0.66 grams and above. The amount of cannabis rolled up in your joint significantly affects how much THC is ingested. The smaller the joint, the lower amount of THC delivered to your system. The longer or wider the joint, the more THC would be available for consumption. Note that it's preferable to avoid longer and wider joints because they take more time to burn. The THC molecules are either burned off before you can consume them, or they're taken away by air resistance. It's best to have multiple smaller joints than a single big joint. More cannabis per joint, hence more THC enters your bloodstream. That's a different way to look at it.
Yeah, it seems toothpicks are better than baseball bats.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, when it comes to joint sizes, right? Yeah, pinners. But it just seems like you smoke more pinners for smoking more paper. I don't know.
Yeah.
They say the smoking joint is one of the easiest ways of increasing the bioavailability of cannabinoids, unlike eating edibles or other cannabis-infused products. When you smoke, the THC gets to your cannabinoid system and brain in no time, as it is almost immediately absorbed into the bloodstream. When inhaled into the lungs, the smoke has a unique ability to cross the blood-brain barrier easily. There's no waiting period for the cannabinoids to break down. They are absorbed quickly.
However, all these don't mean no THC is lost after inhalation. Most studies show that THC bioavailability is capped at 30%. However, this may vary based on the toker. The more bioavailable THC is in your bloodstream, the higher your buzz will be. For instance, since 0.3 joint contains 20 milligrams of THC, this gives you a low buzz. 30-40% delivers a medium buzz, and 50% is highly potent.
Now, the philosophy of all this is everyone has different body chemistry. There is no standard way for the human body to break down or tolerate THC. How your body takes in THC is determined by how much you smoke you've inhaled, your lungs capacity, and how much THC is exhaled with the smoke. A novice reacts differently to THC than a regular or consistent user. The more you consume joints, the higher tolerance gets. Hence, the more THC your body can handle. Also, users react differently to THC regardless of the strain's potency.
Yeah, and how much THC can you take in? Here's an easy experiment you could try to figure out how much THC you consume in a blunt. Step 1. Check the label to find out how many milligrams THC is in the joint you're about to smoke. Starting from the first puff, count the total drag you take till you've either satisfied or done with the joint. Step 3.
It must be a pre-roll.
Yeah.
That must be a pre-roll.
Yeah, and I'm never done with the joint till it's done. That's it.
Yeah. It just says, because it says to check the label on the joint. So it must be a pre-roll.
Yeah. Using the max THC expression, figure out the total milligrams of THC in the joint. Divide the max THC by the total number of puffs taken. This would give you an estimate of your THC consumed.
Oh. No, there was always error factors in the experiment.
Yeah.
If you don't have the patience to do these arithmetics, a more leisurely, though expensive way to determine how much THC you've consumed accurately is through blood tests. It's the only way to know for sure.
I'm not going to blood test.
Yeah, hey, let's go see how much THC I consumed in that joint. let's go get a blood test. No, thank you.
Imagine asking your doctor for that test.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're heading to Indonesia. You know why? Because over in Indonesia, their court rejects the push to allow medical cannabis use, according to Bloomberg. They rejected medical cannabis, Glenn.
Yeah, because that must be evil, you know. Indonesia's constitutional court ruled that existing laws on narcotics are constitutional, rejecting requests to use cannabis for medical purposes. The country's top court did not crack the door for potential future use of cannabis for health conditions by ordering the government to review the way it categorizes narcotics. A change in the existing classification would be needed to allow medical marijuana to become available in Indonesia, presiding judge Anwar Usman said in the ruling on Wednesday. So he's just basically throwing it back to the government saying, change the law.
He's saying you can go ahead and change that law. That's right, exactly. You can you can make it so it is available for patients. Because look at this last line. Indonesia currently places cannabis among the most addictive substances, making its use outside of research activities illegal. Amending its category could be a first step in legalizing medical cannabis in a country that imposes the death penalty for drug trafficking. So you get caught busted bringing in some cannabis into Indonesia, you could be sentenced to life.
Life and death.
Yeah.
Death.
Life and then death. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's just
well, that's what the court's saying. If you're putting it in that classification and you're killing people for it, he can't change it. The government has to change it. I kind of understand the reasoning behind that. Yeah. But the government has to change the law.
Yeah. Well, our government had to change the law back in 2000 because at one point it was legal for a year and a half because the government didn't change the law within the 12 months the courts gave them.
Yeah.
So, but the guy didn't fall then no more than it did now. So, all right, Glenn, do you know what time it is? It is. That's right. It's time for our medical magic mushroom psilocybin story. And this comes to us from the Scientific American. Headline says restrictions on psilocybin magic mushrooms are easing as research ramps up. Good to know.
Magic mushrooms are undergoing a transformation from illicit recreational drug to promising mental health treatment. Numerous studies have reported positive findings using psilocybin, the mushroom's main psychoactive compound, for treating depression as well as smoking and alcohol addiction, and for reducing anxiety in the terminally ill. Ongoing and planned studies are testing the drug for conditions that include opioid dependence, PTSD, anorexia nervosa.
The scientific interest plus growing social acceptance is contributing to legal changes in the cities across the U.S. In 2020, Oregon passed a statewide legislation decriminalizing magic mushrooms, and the state is building a framework for regulating legal therapeutic use, becoming the first jurisdiction in the world to do so. For now, psilocybin remains illegal and strictly controlled at the national level in most countries, slowing research, but an international push to get the drug reclassified aims to lower barriers everywhere.
And after a flurry of research in the 50s and 60s, psychedelics were abruptly banned, partly in response to their temperature. Following the 1971 United Nations Convention on Psychotropic Substances, psilocybin was classified in the U.S. as Schedule I substance, defined as having no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. Psilocybin production was limited, and a host of administrative and financial burdens effectively ended study for decades. It's the worst censorship of research in history, said David, neuropsychopharmacologist. at Imperial College London.
Yeah, Professor Nutt. Yeah, I've heard that name many times. Despite these legal hurdles, the current research resurgence has seen Nutt and others exploring how psilocybin changes the brain's cognitivity patterns, reducing connections within the usual networks while increasing links between less connected regions. Just this year, a study showed that treatment involving psilocybin led to sustained network alterations, which seemed to correlate with reduced depression symptoms. Two organizations are beginning final rounds of trials for psilocybin use for depression, which could lead to the substance's first approval by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
I don't. How are they going to prove it if it's a Schedule I drug? How's that possible?
They're going to have to change that, aren't they? Are you going to have to change that? So. You're going to have to drop that.
The news of psilocybin's promise spreads. Several U.S. cities have passed measures decriminalizing magic mushrooms. This is not the same as legalization. The molecule and the mushrooms themselves remain illegal, but prosecuting people for their possession or use is deprioritized or discouraged. In 2019, Denver voters passed a ballot measure that prohibits using city money to prosecute people for magic mushroom-related offenses.
Nice.
City councils soon took similar steps in Oakland and Santa Cruz, California, and in Ann Arbor, Michigan. In November 2020, voters in Washington, D.C. passed a ballot measure making natural psychedelics one of law enforcement's lowest priorities. Cities and counties in Michigan, Massachusetts, California, and Washington state have followed suit.
As part of the Oregon's legislation, the State Health Authority created a scientific advisory board to recommend regulations for psilocybin service centers, such as designating mushroom specifics and preparations to use and production standards to follow. These centers can apply for licenses starting next January and will not claim to treat depression, but will aim to improve general well-being. You know, you read off those lists of states beforehand, and you can see that where the federal government's probably going to be behind on this too. So
they seem to be behind on all of this, and it's still in Schedule 1. So
yeah. Okay, continue.
My worry is that people won't necessarily get that distinction and turn up with horrible treatment-resistant depression, expecting an expert in treating that condition, says Johns Hopkins University psychiatrist Natalie Gurksayan, who led a recent psilocybin trial. Oregon's advisory board is determining how best to train facilitators and screen clients for risk factors, such as a family history of schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. All our decisions revolve around consumer safety, says Oregon State University mycologist Jesse Euling, who chairs the board's product subcommittee. We want to know what we're avoiding at all potential. We want to know that we're avoiding all potential risk and creating the safest environment for people. The centers will focus on fungi and natural preparations rather than the synthetic psilocybin used in clinical trials so far.
I see him. He all said quiet there. They say, regardless of local decriminalization, U.S. researchers must still abide by federal Schedule I regulations. The International Therapeutic Psilocybin Rescheduling Initiative, a coalition of research and advocacy organizations, aims to get the World Health Organization to conduct a review of the relative evidence for reclassifying the drug. It's inconceivable, but the WHO could now say psilocybin doesn't have a medical value. It can work where other drugs have not, Nutt says.
And various laws already facilitate research and treatment in some countries. Canada classifies magic mushrooms as Schedule 3, so penalties are lower, and certain research and trials are granted exceptions. A Canadian charity called TheraPsil has a fast-track process for end-of-life psilocybin therapy.
Yeah. Some countries, such as Jamaica, never made magic mushrooms illegal, although the psilocybin molecule often is. Research is limited in most of these places, but many have thriving psychedelic retreats, industries that are not medically regulated. The Netherlands has specifically banned the mushrooms, but its laws don't mention psilocybin containing lumps of underground underground material that eventually sprout them, but are known as truffles. This loophole has paved way for numerous therapeutic retreats, but little organized research.
And Portugal has decriminalized all drugs, including some countries and the mushrooms, but not their spores, because the latter do not contain psilocybin. Others do enforce their laws on mad mushrooms. 1971 UN treaty has a clause allowing countries to exempt traditional uses of psychedelic plants. Indigenous people in some South American countries have used psychedelics for centuries and have fought a government for their right to engage in related ceremonies. There is even a religious organization in New Mexico, the Oratory of Mystical Sacraments, that claims members can legally use magic mushrooms in certain circumstances.
They say that, you scroll that down. They say that this idea that psilocybin is helpful for medical health conditions is not a new one. There are thousands of years of history of treatment. It's just a different knowledge format. We're trying hard here in Oregon to honor that knowledge system. Public perception of psilocybin is changing, and as increasing interest generates more evidence, this trend looks set to accelerate. It's a thrilling time to be a mycologist, according to Ewing. He says that many are waiting to see what happens in Oregon, and other states will come up with variations on hopefully what we get right. We also want what needs to be changed. Here we go. Done. So,
well, that was a positive story.
That's right. Exactly. Good to know. And, in time, it looks like there's an industry that's growing there, and it's not growing in the dark.
Yeah. Well, it is.
But it seems to be right out in the open. I know we both know what we mean. So yeah, that's we are seeing more stuff in the news here and there. So it's good. As I say, it's natural plant medicine, whether it's a mushroom or a cannabis plant.
Yep, they seem to be facing the same kind of battles, with the laws and the state of the laws right now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anything you need to touch on before we say goodbye?
Not today, I don't.
No, nothing today. All right. Don't get too overworked getting that garage finished up.
Already passed that.
All right, good stuff. All right, good stuff. Oh, and just so you know, the Humber Valley is just doing fine. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Not a problem.
Appreciate that. Went too long without it. And just so you know, my brother's excited to know about it, even though he's not a consumer. But he calls that the best medicine for him. And
it's my favorite plant by anyone I've ever grown.
Yeah. One of mine as well. All right. That's our Reefer report for July the 21st in 2022 from the Legacy420.com news desk. Thanks to our buds, BMAHydroponics.com, Dr. Buck, CTS.com, Camel for Lifestyle Shop, as well as Legacy 420's store. And in closing, we'd like to say thank yous to everybody who's been watching or listening. And don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
Oh, yeah, baby. That's lovely.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our hydroponics superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville, and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. BMA Hydroponics. It's worth the drive.
The only way to go.
At At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.